Welcome to eLearnChat, where you always learn something new, and today you're going to learn a lot new. We're going to talk VR and some other fun stuff with our good friend Jeff Harris. Here we go. And a little bit of music for our e-learning friends out there. Jeff Harris, how are you today?
Very well. How are you doing, Rick?
I'm doing great. Jeff Harris is with SkillQ. I believe it's www.skillq.com. Jeff is, he's as much of a geek as I am when it comes to audio, video, and all sorts of other good stuff. You may actually, I think, geek me out. You win. I concede total defeat.
I don't know. You're pretty tough to beat on that front. So.
I don't know. I conceded total defeat last time. I go, now that's a studio you got. But anyway, it's always a pleasure to have you on. And today the topic is, I guess, VR. You're going to show us some of the stuff you've been doing and some of the tools. And it sounds exciting. And before we continue, our co-host, Leslie Price, may come on the show. She was having problems with Skype and vMix and some other stuff. So we'll see if she calls in. If not, we wish her well. We'll see her next week. And for all those who are wondering, she is with www.learnappeal.com. Her and I will be in London, England together at the Learn Appeal booth, or stand as they say, working the booth and talking to people. It's a great charity. All right, here we go. Jeff, so you have been up to something new. It's kind of fun what you're doing.
Yeah, I was kind of inspired by your podcast with Pooja, showing all of the VR capabilities of Captivate. So we've been doing some experimentation, as we do on a pretty regular basis with whatever new features come out. So yeah, I've taken a few experiments, and I've got a few things I can show today. But when you were talking with Pooja, you talked a lot about some of just the basic features of how you put it together. But with all of these new features, the real trick is what are the limitations of those features, and when you start trying to use them on a practical project, what kind of issues do you run into?
Right.
So that's what we try to figure that stuff out for our clients, and so we do some pretty interesting experiments along the way.
Well, one of the funniest things is when people first get a VR camera, how do you get yourself out of the VR camera? It's always funny. I always hear people going, I took a video, but I was in it. I couldn't get myself out of it. That's one of the first hurdle, right? That's if you can get past that one, you've got the ability to get in. So
yeah, now, it's hard to get out of a way of a 360 camera.
That is true. Now, you said you're doing something with a new camera or a new type of camera that also scans. So it scans the 3D environment as well as takes a video of it, which is pretty darn cool. You take the reins. How do you want to lead this? We got 30 minutes. We can go wild with this.
Yeah. Well, the camera you're talking about is called the Matterport camera, and so Matterport is a camera, but it's also kind of a cloud-based service. And it's used a lot inside, for real estate and things like that, where you really need a good virtual tour to understand how a property or a site is laid out. So they do a really nice job of piecing, what you see typically in 360, particularly if you're talking about like an e-learning course. If you want to navigate around that interior, you have to basically take a 360 image at each point that you want to navigate to, and you can build a slide for each of those points, so they end up being kind of like nodes, so you can jump to another point. However, what Matterport does is that you end up taking many scans, and it's scanning. It's not just taking the photograph, a 360 photograph. It's also scanning the environment with infrared. So it builds literally a 3D model of the environment, and then it applies those images to that 3D model. So it's not, the fidelity of the 3D model is not, perfect. It's not like a laser scan, but it's quite good. And, so it understands distances, it understands relative, connections between these different scans. So therefore, it can build something that's kind of a more fluid tour through that environment. And so we've looked at that. We have a client who is in the insurance industry, and one of their needs is being able to train adjusters how to go through a house and then be able to adjust that house to estimate damage. And so we've helped them with a number of projects, and this is one thing that we were kind of exploring as a possibility for building these kinds of interactive exercises that you could walk through an environment.
That's actually really interesting, because when you start looking at what the VR tools can do and you put it into the practical world, there's a lot of actual applications that people don't think about. And it's pretty amazing, some of the things people come up with and how useful those things are. Now, you were telling me that the Matterport camera is only $2,500. Does that include the service as well?
They have a couple of different levels, but I mean, I think the basic camera is in the neighborhood of around $2,500, and then you pay. There is a kind of like a service, because these models, when you scan the models, they are actually uploaded to their servers, and then they actually do a lot of the processing that connects, builds the model and then connects the photography to the model itself.
That's actually pretty darn cool. They agree. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, so actually, I've got the camera here.
Leslie's back with us.
You see that behind me here?
Yes.
So this is what the Matterport camera looks like. I mean, usually it's just going to be on a tripod, and when you take a scan, it's actually got multiple lenses. So it's basically kind of taking multiple images at one time.
That's
and as this rotates around in a 360, it takes about 30 seconds for each scan. And so it's essentially building a 360 image with each scan, and then connecting all of these images together.
Now, do you basically take yourself out of the room while it does that?
Yeah, you hide.
You hide. Got it.
So it's actually controlled from an iPad, so you can scan from around a corner where you're just out of view. Yet you can see on the iPad both the model that's being built as well as the imagery.
That's really cool.
So it's very, very cool stuff.
Yeah, and Leslie's back. I heard her lovely voice join us.
Yeah, I'm back. I don't know what was wrong. It's possibly now that I've got carpets in the house. The computer just doesn't know how to cope with carpets.
Carpets.
Yeah, I refurbished my house, Jeff. I haven't had carpets for 3 years.
Oh.
So your house is now warm.
The house is very warm, and it's now finished. The whole lot finished.
Well, all we can say is, oh wait, the audience is talking about that one, I think. That's a more British audience, a little bit more civil. Ooh. Okay. We've added some more sound effects to the show just because we could. Anyway. Well, Jeff, I don't know how much you saw of what Jeff was showing with the new technology from Matterport, and it actually sounds really cool. And the entry point is not that horrible. It's pretty straightforward.
It sounded pretty expensive to me, but that's probably because I'm used to buying. I'm Scottish. I buy cheap.
Yeah.
No, that is a Scottish price for that quality.
In Rift dollars, it's very cheap.
Yeah. Yeah, that is actually, considering the typical VR cameras that are okay, but they're not really that great, that's cheap. $2,500 is the price of a good camcorder. That's really cheap. So that's not too bad at all. So
I don't know. I'll show you how old-fashioned I am. I was listening to vinyl records over Christmas, so we talk about all this VR, and yet vinyl is coming back.
Yep, vinyl records VR.
Absolutely.
Yep.
VR, I love it.
It's another one that's VR. You didn't think about that, did you? So Jeff, what else have you been up to with the VR? Because you said if you look at that versus what a Captivate does, or a Scenario VR, or some of the really expensive ones that are out there like Oculus Rift and all that, how is this different? Or this actually sounds like it's geared more towards business as well as other things, because you're working on real structures, real layouts and mapping, and I imagine, like you said, having the coordinates map to the coordinates of the map, actually not map, but tie into the mapping coordinates would make it a whole lot more accurate than a standard VR. And that's where I was going. That's pretty cool what you can do with that.
Yeah, I mean, it is more accurate. I guess the downside to it is that it is somewhat specialized, and it hasn't been designed for creating e-learning or training content. Mm-hmm. Although I think there's a lot of training opportunities with it. For us, we wanted something that had a better experience walking through an environment. Mm-hmm. So that's why we've been exploring it. And but what it can't do are things like the Captivate can, which is you can't build an assessment in it. Mm. You can do certain types of call outs, but you can't publish it and load it inside of your LMS easily.
Okay.
So there's you don't have those same type of I guess training oriented capabilities, unfortunately.
So can that generate 2D and 3D virtual reality, or is it more 3D?
You have basically the choice, and I can show you here in just a second an example of what I'm talking about. But you can have the studio tour, which is essentially a 3D model with 360 images. But you can also, any one of these scans, you can actually pull out as just a regular 360 image. So what I'll show in just a minute is where we've taken a Matterport scan, just one. And so in that case, it's very much like any other 360 camera. But we've taken a couple of those scans, and then we pulled those in the Captivate. So we're not really getting the full benefit of what Matterport is capable of, but we are taking 360 images to pull into Captivate to just to see what we can do with it.
Okay, good. You said you have a demo? You want to show us?
Yeah.
You were going to show your screen?
I have a couple of things here, so let me see if I can get that rolling.
And by the way, for those interested, Jeff does an incredible job creating e-learning, media, video, corporate video. He's got a good company, and like I said, he loves his toys.
So this is a Captivate project. So what we wanted to do in this demonstration is we wanted to see if we could actually get a narrator, because a lot of our courses will use a live narrator that we'll shoot on green screen. So in this case, the gentleman you see here was originally shot in regular 2D video on green screen. So what we did was we took his video, and then we actually effectively turned that into another layer on the 360 image. So I'll go ahead and play this. So this has audio. You won't be able to hear the audio, but but you can see he's talking, and so he could be doing an introduction, and then you can also look around this room as he's doing his introduction. So you effectively can blend these 2D assets like this on-camera narrator into this 3D environment, which I think is kind of a cool application.
And it makes it look like he's originally shot in the video.
Yep, it looks like he was shot in the video, and then now you're seeing, essentially we've gone to another slide here where we've added additional measurement information into the image. So, in fact, we've also taken the 360 image, and now if you see this damage that's on the wall here and on the ceiling, this damage was actually added in post. So this house was totally pristine, but we needed to put some damage on the walls. So we alter these images to include the damage, and then basically package them back in to a 360 image that's in Captivate.
That's great.
So it's one of these things where I don't know that it would occur to folks that you can still work with 360 images like 2D images as far as editing them and altering them when needed.
That's really good.
The measurement here is same technique. It's just added after the fact in really a photo editor. So this is kind of like one example. Now that same narrator, I'll show you. Okay, so here we are in London. I believe this is the Millennium Bridge. Is that correct? Does that look like the Millennium Bridge. Okay, there he is.
Yeah, that's the Millennium Bridge with the London Eye behind it.
Exactly. So we were just talking about London. You guys going to London, and I was telling Rick how awesome London is. But in case you need a e-learning narrator with you on your trip, we can add them after the fact, Rick. So
that is pretty cool. Yep.
We'll play this, and he can give an introduction to your vacation.
That's really neat.
So this is actually just a video, and that's being rendered, and it's just playing through Vimeo.
Now, did you take that with your iPhone?
Yep, that's me and my wife. I did take it with my iPhone. I took it with a 360 camera.
It was 360. Okay.
Yeah. So it's just a 360 photo that we've added in this piece of video. That's actually keyed video that was done in our studio. So kind of cool. There's a lot of possibilities, I think, with that.
Yeah, I think it's lots of cool. That's pretty neat.
Let's see what else I've got here. So this is another application inside of where we've taken our studio setup desk here, and you can think of this for your studio is creating a little bit of a tutorial that allows you to point to each of the objects on the desk and see what it is, see how to use it. So once again, this is actually a project done in Captivate with a 360 image that was actually taken from a Matterport project.
And
so
yeah, that's nice.
Kind of interesting application.
So those were taken with the Matterport camera, right?
Matterport camera, yeah.
Yep.
And but you could do this with any other camera. I mean, this is literally just a 360 image.
Now, is the Matterport camera a video and stills camera? Does it do both, or mainly?
No, but I'll show you what. Let me switch over to another window here.
You know, after seeing this, we've come to the conclusion Jeff doesn't really exist in the real world. He's actually part of that virtual reality. That is cool.
All right. So this is a Matterport. This is a Matterport model. So what you're seeing is our studio here, and the studio. This is what's called the Dollhouse view.
Yeah, that is interesting.
And this, you can see, this is actually kind of like a high-level view of the 3D model that it's created. So you can actually click into this model, and then you're in the room. And then as you can navigate around the room. So I'm just going to scan around here. We have call-outs. So if you want to put call-outs on certain objects, these are pinned to the actual 3D image. And then you'll see these little circles on the ground. And if I click into any of those are basically points in the model that I can navigate to.
That's really cool.
So
it's almost like you have your own little. You almost have your little own Google Earth right here with this.
Yep. In fact, this technology integrates with Google, so you can actually create these models and then set them up inside of Google Earth or Google Maps.
That's really cool. Now, Leslie, imagine if you had that when you were doing your house.
It's all in my head.
It's in your head. But how do we scan your head?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't bother. I wouldn't bother. No, but that's. I mean, I can imagine that being really very, very useful for interior design.
Yep.
Because yes, and like both of my house and my garden, I knew exactly what I wanted. But I'm on my 4th refurb, so I'm experienced at it. But if you were new at doing it, and everybody says to me, "Oh wow, what an amazing job you've done! How did you know how it would all look?" But if you had something like this, it would really help people visualize.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very helpful
I can
to
see
understand.
It being really useful for house refurbishment or even if you're going to, you imagine when you go to new houses and they're just building them all, and you know, they haven't got the show homes all set up yet. You could actually go in and you could, even without going to taking a trip to the show home, you could actually, you know, if you were selling houses, you could actually have something like this. Maybe this is what we'll see in future.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, it is used a lot in real estate, so that's, you know, one of the primary use cases. But, you know, we're more interested in the training, you know, capabilities of it. And so, like I said, in the situation where someone needs to go through a house and understand how the house is put together, be able to estimate damage, you know, inspect the house, you know, this type of technology can be very helpful, and is, you know, it's just a lot more elegant for navigation around that interior than what you can generally achieve in something like Captivate.
Yeah. No,
yeah,
it certainly makes sense to me.
And when
but, you know, like to say, my family was in insurance. My brother still is in insurance, but, you know, my mum, my dad, my sister, and my brother I'm the only one in the family who hasn't worked in insurance. But I can imagine, and my brother does claims. My father did reinsurance, but even on major risk, I can see this being really useful.
Yeah. Yep, it is being used in that field, and there's a lot of interesting technology. We work a lot with insurance companies, and you know, this and drone technology and a lot of different things are being applied to you know, the adjusting a claim. Very interesting.
But you could also use it in training of interior designers, or I can see architects using it.
Yep, absolutely. So, so this is just a few things we were playing around with. You know, the other thing I was going to, you know, talk a little bit about was we've also been. I don't know if have you guys heard of the Oculus Go or played around with it at all?
I haven't heard of the Go. I've heard of the other one, the previous one, the Oculus Rift.
The Oculus Rift.
Yep.
Yeah. So the Oculus Go is, and if you I've got it, I don't see it, my camera feed being shown, but I've got it where you can see it. But basically, Oculus Go is a cheaper version than the Oculus Rift. The Oculus Go is you know, a headset that includes, you know, it's almost like the phone is built in. So you're familiar with the phone setups where you can, you know, like Google Cardboard.
Jeff needs to stop sharing his screen. Then we can see.
Ah, okay.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. So this is the Oculus Go. So it's as you can see, it does have some optics, and it's a lot more comfortable than using like a Google Cardboard or something of that nature. And in fact, this is the device that I think Walmart has purchased 17,000 of these things for their e-learning program. So, you know, one of the things we've been playing around with is what can we do with this using projects that we might create in Captivate, or for that matter, projects that we create with Matterport. So.
Now, how much is one of those, Jeff? How much does one of those cost?
You can get these for, I believe they're around $300.
It's not too bad. No, that includes the camera.
Not at all. Pardon me?
Does that include the camera?
Well, no. This is just a headset.
Just headset. Okay.
But you know, they've got their own little kind of ecosystem for it, so you can buy games. And actually, there's some pretty decent training courses that you can buy, you know, from the Oculus Go store.
Okay.
And some of those are free. You can download them and just check them out. So there's, you know, it's very interesting. I think this is a great device for programs that want something better than just like a Google Cardboard, you know, for that type of VR experience. But they don't want to spend, you know, they can't spend thousands of dollars on a headset that has to be plugged into a specialized computer. This is basically a standalone device. And inexpensive. Like I said, Walmart has made a pretty big investment in them for their program. So one of the things we just want to experiment with is, can we take a Captivate project that's a VR project, and what does that look like inside, this type of headset? And it's a little bit difficult to demonstrate some of that, but I do have a very brief video that I can show you that gives you some idea of what that looks like.
Could you adjust your microphone? I think it moved into a position where we're getting a lot of breath onto it.
Okay, is that better?
Leslie.
Oh, Leslie. Okay.
Oh, Leslie. Sorry.
Okay, we've got about 4 or 5 minutes.
That should be better. Thank you.
So this gives you a little bit of an idea of what it's like to look through the Oculus Go. This is a video of a VR environment. So in this case, we actually took a Captivate program, and this is a kind of a 360 test, and we wanted to see what does it look like inside the Oculus Go. So you can view a web page, and it's almost like you're seeing a 2D web page in a 3D interface. But this is taking it in. So this is the way it represents it in video. But this would be basically a surround inside of your headset. So this is same kind of a demonstration of a house with damage inside of this Oculus headset.
Now, Jeff, do people get headaches with these devices at all? I've read that some of the older stuff, people got headaches, or is it pretty innocuous at this point?
I've definitely read about those kind of circumstances. In my experimentation with it, it's I didn't have any problems, and people here in the office have not had any real problems with it. I think it depends on how long you're going to be wearing it, and so it does. I could see if you were going to be exposed to it for a very long period of time, there could be some issues you'd have to be on the lookout.
It also depends on your eyesight.
That's
so I really struggle with them because I have to wear these. I can't even wear contacts because I've got I need varifocals, and I've also got astigmatism in my eyes, so I can't do without these. And Oculus, the Oculus doesn't like varifocals.
Interesting.
Yeah,
because it can't.
There is some accommodation for glasses, but
get the measurement right.
Interesting. Now, they do have multifocal contacts that can even be used for astigmatism. Have you ever tried those?
Yeah, but yes, I've tried them.
They're not clear. I tried them too. They're not very clear. The sharpness isn't there.
Yeah. No, it's not when I'm both long-sighted and short-sighted, and it doesn't help that I've got astigmatism as well. It's
that's
just...
Good. So when I see
joys when I turned 50. This is when it all happened.
So when I see you in London, I have to come at you from the left side, then quickly switch to the right just to confuse you.
No, I can see perfectly with my glasses on, thank you, Rich.
All right, you're welcome.
Perfectly with my glasses.
Well, Jeff, we are out of time, and we'd love to have you back on to talk more about this. You're always a wealth of information and fun stuff that you're doing, and it's just a pleasure to have you on. How can people get a hold of you? What's the best way for people to reach out?
Well, you can go to the website, or you can send me a message at jeff.harris@skillq.com.
And we'll put that in the show notes so people can get a hold of you. So again, Jeff, appreciate you coming on. I know you've been a little bit of a hermit this year. You didn't go to CES, maybe NAB. I don't think I'm going to NAB. So
maybe this year I'll get out a little more.
It'll be fun. Well, anyway, thank you for coming on the show. And for all you people watching, please subscribe, give us your feedback. Let us know what you think. We will have in the show notes under the video all the stuff that Jeff is doing and how to get a hold of him. And as I said earlier, Leslie and I will both be at the Learn Appeal booth in London, England, February 13th through 14th. be there. We're looking forward to it at the Learn Appeal stand, not booth, stand. But if you're
That's
from here,
right. So
you can
Learn
say
Appeal.
booth.
In England, or UK, we call them stands.
Stands.
Not booths.
The stands.
But there'll be an awful lot. You'll meet an awful lot of US people there too, Rick. An awful
That's right.
lot.
So for you folks, go to the booth. For the other people, just stand around.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No,
it'll be a lot of fun.
They call it a stand.
We are looking forward to it. And
Oh,
again,
it'll be
thanks.
great.
And also, we have a new feature on eLearnChat. It is called eLearnChat Management Consulting Tips. And we are going to be providing a lot of free management consulting tips from a lot of people in the industry. You'll be hearing from them very, very soon. So anyway, have a good one again, and we will see you next week on eLearnChat. Take care. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh.
And we are off.